What's going on, guys? This is Miasin and welcome to my ISHIZU TEARLAMENTS deck profile featuring King of the Swamp and the Grapha fusion. So definitely something refreshing and different from what we have seen before with, well, actually not really. The only difference is that I added 4 new cards and 2 fusion monsters that people typically do not play in this deck. Although I will say that the YCS that I topped with TEARLAMENTS was YCS Rio. I actually did play King of the Swamp in Polymerization and it was really good. Guardian Camera won me a few games, so I already have experience with that. And also Dennis Nadas top aided YCS Minneapolis with King of the Swamp as well. So definitely don't sleep on that card. And with the Grapha fusion, it's going to be infinitely better. So today I'll show you guys my deck profile, but before this video starts, make sure you like and subscribe. Check me out on Twitch and Instagram. If this video can get to 1,000 likes, I will be making a live stream on this deck, and now let's jump right into it. Alright, so I'm only playing 4 Bisted monsters. Well, it's still 4, it's not too bad, but some people have been playing 6 or 9 or whatever. I guess the ratios, you can always kind of play with them. But yeah, if you want to play Magnamut, you absolutely have to play Druid Worm, or you can also play 1 Druid Worm and no Magnamut. The reasoning behind that would be the fact that you can't mill a Magnamut so that your opponent cannot go dark, revive back your own Magnamut. That would be like a big way for you to lose, and you really don't want that to happen ever. So yeah, I guess milling this card is pretty bad, because only your opponent has value off of this, and the Druid Worm, it's not the end of the world, because you can still recur back the Druid Worm from the graveyard to the hand on the end phase with the Magnamut. It doesn't only search from the deck to the hand. So yeah, 1 is all you need at the very bare minimum, or you can play like 3 or more Bisted monsters and maybe cut down on the Screams and Sulik. But yeah, definitely some ratios that you can play with. But for me, I like 4 or 6. It really is up to you. And for the TEARLAMENTS cards, I'm actually playing triple Shaylin, triple Reinoheart, triple Alphinus, and triple Meiru. The reason for that is because I don't play like, I don't know, Diviner of the Heralds, so my only normal summons would be like Reinoheart and Meiru. So I guess it makes sense, but if you really want to play Diviner, which I don't think this build can really afford that luxury since you have to play like 2 other fusion monsters and you can't really squeeze in the Baron, then, you know, you might as well just max out on these normal summons, and they're also consistency cards, so definitely, why not? And Herald of Orange Light is now limited, so really no more reason to play it whatsoever. And Agido is also not the greatest, so I don't recommend playing it. I think these ratios for the ISHIZU monsters are perfectly fine. So triple Kelbeg because it's an actual hand trap. Triple Mudora even though you're not playing Gravekeeper's Trap, so only the graveyard effect really matters. You're not really summoning Mudora from the hand really often. More often than not, it's really just a discard off of Shaylin or like a discard off of the Grapha fusion so that you can negate stuff. But yeah, I mean, the graveyard effect is where it's really, really broken. So it's kind of like, not really a brick in the hand, but it's not like super ideal. It's just like a blank in a way. But in the graveyard, it's like really insane. And Keldo, in the hand or in the graveyard, it's really good. So this is like, objectively speaking, the best ISHIZU monster out there. And in second place, I'd probably put like Kelbeg because sometimes it can catch people off guard. And against the non-ISHIZU tier decks, it can actually do a lot, and even if they negate the Kelbeg, you still get the effect of Mill 5, so your opponent is like really screwed when you when you show them the Kelbeg. And obviously, I'm on triple King of the Swamp. Now, you could potentially play only 2, it's really up to you, and you shouldn't play Fusion Substitute anymore because Mystic Mine is no longer a thing, so you might as well just try to max out on consistency, only really play Polymerization. So I definitely like these ratios. And yeah, that's it for the monsters. And for the spells, I mean, Polymerization has already been explained that it's super obvious anyways. You can search this with King of the Swamp and then fuse for like Guardian Chimera or Grapha Fusion or Kid Kalos or whatever. The world is your oyster. Instant Fusion is a card that should have gotten banned. I can't believe it dodged the ban list. This is pretty unacceptable. It's one of the most frustrating and powerful one of out there. Same thing with Terraforming, honestly. Terraforming is also a ban-worthy card. You might as well play them while they're still here. You know, I'm not really trying to say that this deck is fair or anything, but if you want to win games, then this is probably the deck for you. And then Triple Scream, I really like this card, being able to, you know, mill 3 cards, make your opponent monsters lose 500 attack. That can be relevant, because let's just say you have a Dweller with like a water monster underneath, and then your opponent summons a Bisted monster. The Bisted monster goes from 25 to 2k attack, and your Dweller has 22, so that your opponent's monster cannot even jump over your Dweller. And that way, well, it's harder for your opponent to like win in beat down simplified game state. So that's really insane. And the fact that, of course, you search TEARLAMENTS Trap when it's sent to the grave is also really, really nice. And obviously, triple field spell with 4 field spells, technically. And for the trap cards, I'm playing 2 Salic and 1 Crime. One other thing that you can do is only play 2 Scream and then 1 Salic and 1 Crime and play 2 more Bisted monsters. That is very respectable. And I am definitely not against that. And for the extra deck, of course, the Grapha Fusion, Guardian Chimera. So these two cards, you will only find them in the King of the Swamp version, so that this monster is basically impossible to summon if you're not playing King of the Swamp or Grapha. And Grapha is a pretty bad card in this deck. There's really no synergy. You're never really discarding Grapha with like any effect, so yeah, unless you're playing like Danger Monsters, but then just play Danger Dark World, don't even play like TEARLAMENTS cards in it. Guardian Chimera, very insane going second. You can chain block with this card, you draw cards, you pop cards without targeting, and if you have Polymerization in the grave, it can't be targeted, so it's really, really annoying to get rid of, and 3300 attack is absolutely no joke, especially when you boost it with the field spell, and potentially make your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack with the Scream. You can jump over some gigantic monsters with Guardian Chimera, so very nice. And same thing, I guess, with Grapha. If you have Grapha, you can out the Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax, because you can negate the effect of Avramax to gain attack, and then you just jump over it because you have more attack. And then obviously it triggers the graveyard effect of Avramax to shuffle back a card, but it is what it is. If you have the Dweller, you can circumvent that. But yeah, at least it's like an out to an annoying card. You don't have to play Borreload, for example, or like your own Avramax or Underworld Goddess, or like Kaijus or Super Poly or any of that bullshit. So yeah, these two monsters, very, very nice, at least in this build. And for the other monsters, one Kaleido Heart, obviously it's just so powerful. Funny enough, actually, when we're going to be getting Photon Hypernova, we might actually start seeing people play 2 Kaleido Heart and 2 Kid Kalos everywhere, because if they can look at your extra deck with Diablosis or Unicorn, and they make you lose your powerful 1-ofs, you're screwed. So yeah, 1 Kaleido Heart for now, but it might be a 2-of in the future. Lulu Karos, very good card. By the way, you can also summon this very, very easy without even requiring Kid Kalos, because King of the Swamp can become Kid Kalos to summon this card in 2 seconds. Dragos Tapelia, of course, very easy to summon with like Garura and Mudragon. And speaking of the Devils, both of them. So I'm not playing Super Poly, but they're still really good cards. I can summon Garura by using any 2 tiers with different names, except Reino Heart, obviously, because it's not like a dark aqua. And also, I can use... what else, actually? No, that's the only way I can summon it in this deck without Super Poly, but Mudragon, I have to use like a Bisted monster and a tier. And Kid Kalos is like even easier to summon in this deck than in any other deck, because even if I can't necessarily use the effect of a TEARLAMENTS in the grave to summon it, I can still go Polymerization to fuse like 2 aquas. Well, 1 aqua and 1 tier, and then make the Kid Kalos and play from there. So even if you get like Bisted to the death, you can still kind of play in a way. And for the Xyz monsters, Zeus, Beatrice, Baguska, and Dweller, all these monsters are pretty stapley. The only one that I'm missing would be the Time Thief Redoer, as well as Wallow. Wallow is great if you're playing a bunch of Bisted monsters. I definitely do recommend you to consider it, but Redoer really didn't really come up too much for me. I never really missed it when I didn't play it, so that's the reason why I'm not really on it, because the extra deck space is very, very tight. I can't really think of like anything that you really want to cut, so these cards are like the cards that you absolutely need. So like Dweller in the mirror match, Baguska against the D-Shifter decks, and then Beatrice against like everyone. Zeus is like really insane going second. Dweller and Zeus is how you break boards in the mirror match going second. And yeah, now for the Link monsters, Dark, of course. Very nice to revive back your opponent's Magnamut and then search. Or sometimes you get Ghost Reapered on your Kid Kalos, and then you go Dark, revive back their Kid Kalos, and you get your engine started from there. And then obviously Splight Elf and Splight Sprint. Those cards are absolutely no-brainers in this deck. And for the idea section, Fenrir, I don't really recommend playing this card if you're playing Bisted monsters because they conflict. Like the Bisted monsters, they summon themselves on turn 0, and the Kashtira monsters are all Photon Thrashers, so if you control a monster, they do nothing, unfortunately. IP Masquerina if you want to play some spicy plays, or you can also IP Masquerina to Sprint on your opponent's turn. That is very respectable. Lightning Storm or Dark Hole, that's really cool. I guess it used to be super relevant to out Mystic Mine, because destroying your own monsters was like insane, but you don't really have to like worry about that anymore, but it's still really good against Flunderies. Lightning Storm also very nice against Flunderies, because other monsters are always in attack position, they don't special summon, so they don't choose the defense, well, the position of the monsters, so since they always normal tribute, it's always attack, so Lightning Storm is basically Regeki against them, and you can also take care of spells and traps. So I don't know if they play like Macrocosmos or D-Fisher, but you would be able to take care of them. Arby's Feather Duster also takes care of the annoying Floodgates. Super Poly, whatever, Appointer of the Red Lotus, Eradicator, Branded Beast if you're playing the Lubalion package, or whatever else you're trying to incorporate in this deck. But that's pretty much it for this deck profile. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.